Well, good afternoon. This is Brian Cook working on my EDLD 645 project. Today I've decided to look at two similar yet diverse environments. Today I'm actually outside of a place called Save-A-Lot. Save-A-Lot is in a very different part of town compared to where I live at. It's the discount grocery store. Some people might even call it the black grocery store. As I pull up, I purposely came in the afternoon because a couple of things I've seen in this area before is that it definitely has a lot of violence. In my past experience, I actually dropped a student off who was on a travel wrestling squad about a block or two from here. And as I tried to take him a little bit deeper into his community, he told me, "Cook, you got to drop me off here." I said, no, I'll drive you down the block. He goes, "White people don't come into this part of the neighborhood. I'll walk." So I'm a little concerned just based off of what am I going to see in this grocery store. I can tell you I'm pretty comfortable since it's daylight, but I can tell you in the evening time I do not think I would want to be walking around here very much because it just has that stigma of just being a kind of a dangerous place. So just take a look around as I come in. There's a lot of cars in the parking lot. It's like a big plaza. People that I've seen walk in and out so far have been primarily black folks. A couple of white folks that have come out, but they've had multiple children. And also, kind of, if I look at their automobiles, I wouldn't say it's a bad automobile, but it's definitely not an upscale or middle-class automobile. A couple dents and nicks I can tell from the side. There's actually a lady straight ahead of me who's getting her car jumped right now because maybe something didn't work out. So, yeah, so it's going to be an interesting to see what is Save-A-Lot like. Looks like a typical grocery store. Just when you look at the stores beside it, they're kind of got the glass all covered with bags and plastic and so forth because they're not open. So it will be an interesting time. I'm going to walk through and see if my preconceived biases are true, and we'll go from there. A couple more people walking out in the neighborhood, kind of beat up a little bit. Got some of carts lying around, which isn't uncommon for a grocery store, but we'll see what I see as I keep going through. All right, so definitely a little bit smaller than what I'm used to. Kind of has a little bit of a stale smell as I walk in right by produce. A little bit stronger scent than I'm normally used to. I will say it's very clean. White walls for the most part. A couple random items kind of just out in the middle, but hey, could be worse. I'm going to walk by and just hear what some people are talking about back here in the meat category. Maybe they won't notice me.
Chaque jour, $10, $15, chaque jour $10, $15, chaque jour $10, $15, comment ça me sert bien comme avec chaque jour $10, $15, chaque jour $10, chaque jour $10. Observez avec vous ça. Mais bon, là que mon gars vient avec une petite
So, walking through, it's fair to say I'm not really sure what language they were speaking. Definitely a darker African American, maybe Haitian, maybe some other descent. But, okay, we'll keep going. The worker that I just walked by looks like a manager of some type, well dressed, shirt tucked in, so looks would be expected. As I'm looking at one of the senses of sound, I hear some type of sounds like a gospel maybe? as I'm looking up at the ceiling category, it looks like it's maybe as I go through the store a little bit rougher than some spots I expected. But could be worse. No different than the school I work in, I guess. Just look at some of the products. Look at some of the prices. Yeah, this is definitely a little bit cheaper than going to Sam's Club, which I normally shop at. So, but alright, so those are some initial reactions, what I've seen. We'll keep moving through. I will say, there's a lot less product here than in my grocery store. So, like most chubby men, I like snacks. So, I think I'm going to grab something to eat and a soda and go through the line and see if I see any cultural differences in how I'm waited upon. So far, not really a struggle. I mean, fairly nice. That cooler, though, I just try to get my drink out of is not ice cold. It's kind of a lukewarm temperature. So maybe we'll walk over here to try another one. So one of the things I just observed was a young lady trying to purchase something. It looked like she had some public assistance dollars where something didn't work or she didn't have enough money to go. So I will tell you, that's actually not uncommon. I see that at Walmart, much more so than Walmart too. Even though some people use public assistance, they try to hide it now with that little card they have. But I noticed here when I was just walking by one of the register workers, she was shouting across to about 3 or 4 registers down saying, "Hey, was this a WIC item?" So that kind of throws into the stereotype of this part of town that, you know, they are socially, economically depressed a little bit, lack some funding, so it just kind of supports the stereotype. But I don't think it's necessarily everybody here, because there's a couple folks that I have run into, kind of polite, excuse me, hello, which maybe they just had good manners, but we'll see as I continue my journey. We've pulled onto the lot of Giant in the other part of Salisbury. Giant, it kind of has a stereotype of being a kind of a good grocery store. As I kind of roll in, my basic observations were a lot more cars here, and the quality of cars much higher. Also, one thing I do notice, they have a man who's walking around, like picking up carts and sweeping the lot, which kind of a little bit of a contrast in comparison to the last store I was just in. So it kind of looks clean. Some of the people that are coming in and out right now, as I'm getting out of my car and just kind of glances, are typically an older crowd, mostly females. All of them have been white as of to this point. So it'll be interesting to see if it's changed at all once I go in. So here we go. Welcome to Giant. Definitely tremendously longer aisles and more product. As I look at the shoppers, actually primarily white, but I did come across a group of black individuals. Actually, there's a pharmacy here too. One thing I noticed about black individuals that are here, most of them are dressed fairly well. Shirts tucked in.
Stop by customer service and ask them, okay? You want me to go help?
Also, just kind of walking by one of the employees and patron. He actually, very trying to be helpful, point him in the right direction, talked at a acceptable tone of voice, so it kind of brings a little bit of a difference. And I looked at the if I look at the sites, very clean floors. Looks like they're polished recently. Sound here, there's a little bit of music on initially, but now just kind of talking about advertisement. Smell, No real smell, just kind of clean smell as I walk by and take a look at the it's the deli back here. Not really much of a smell there either. Which I don't know if it's the smell that I notice as I walk by the seafood, and it jumps out at you the Old Bay smell, all the fresh food, much different from where I was before. My last experience, chubby boys like food, so I'm gonna go in line and buy something and see how my interaction is with our cashier. Observation about my purchase right here that I've noticed was I have an abundant amount of employees here. Some of them not even doing very much. Also, another thing was when I exited, the person that took my money, made sure I said, "Have a great day. Hope we'll see you back." So I don't know if I looked out of place because I never shop here normally, but it was definitely a little bit more positive, and it just kind of pushed me out the door like the last one. Well, this brings my conclusion and reflection time on my trip to Save-A-Lot. It's actually kind of an interesting piece. As I'm kind of looking down through the checklist, one of the questions it asked me to do is to look at from ethical perspective what I observed, and I just kind of look at some of the similarities and the differences. As I was, a couple of key things when I looked at language of both places. For the most part, English was the primary language. However, the moment that I heard somebody speaking another language and it was kind of quick, I kind of tensed up a little bit. So it's kind of an uncomfortableness, not understanding the language and wondering. However, in the same respect, what the individual never made an action towards me or any sort to make me feel uncomfortable. However, I understand that in culture sometimes. When we have people who speak different languages and we don't understand, we almost have this idea that something's wrong. And that's really a very poor judgment to make upon them. Also, another thing that I noticed was the individuals with children. At one store, well, actually both stores had individual children, but I noticed the difference was that at one store they're dressed better than the other comparison. However, when I looked at how they were disciplining them and walking with them, there's really no difference. It's not like one parent was playing a better role than another. So once again, it's kind of another moment where we don't necessarily realize that we're evaluating or being judgmental. Another moment that I looked at was the comfort level. Being a white male, I felt much more comfortable when I was going through Giant than I did through Save-A-Lot. However, after I went through and looked at the product and had a conversation, I kind of bumped into the manager as I was walking through. And there's really no need or reason not to feel uncomfortable in a situation like that, because it's really the exact same setting, just in a different part of town. So, regardless of the socio or economic availability or willingness of the people there, there's really nothing to be afraid of. So, I would definitely say cultural, a little bit different, however it offers the same things. The last part of the rubric asked me to reflect in detail on how I'm going to use this assignment and how it made me feel, so I can become comfortable and a little bit better ethically and morally leader in my school community. And I think one of the things is I need to take preconceived notions out, because when you have what you see on television or mass media, you have this feeling about going into a neighborhood or talking or interacting with a certain group because you're unaware of their culture. And I think by taking that opportunity and learning a little bit about their culture and going in and putting yourself in a uncomfortable situation, that you're really going to show something to those people in regards to a parent and that where you're working with, or maybe even a student, to show that, man, you really do care about them. And that's going to just pay dividends tremendously as you're working with them in the school system to let them improve on their achievement as young people. So I'll say it was a very eye-opening experience, and I'm happy that we were able to do it today.